Welcome to the Business Information Buffet podcast, brought to you by the Minority Business Development Agency. Each week, we'll be featuring business owners and entrepreneurs that will provide their personal recipe for business, powerful conversations, and knowledge of the business world. We amplify the stories of various backgrounds, cultures, and expertise. Our self-identity is as diverse as our social community. We cultivate a community of like-minded individuals that share their different perspectives, broadening our worldview. Are you ready? This is the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready?
Welcome back to the Business Information Buffet Podcast, also known as the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats, here at the College of Southern Nevada, North Las Vegas campus, under the operation of MV Grow and MBDA, for another impactful episode. I am your host, Sean Torrey, with our DJ Icebreak.
DJ Icebreak.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, our topic of today is nothing small about the small biz lady, with our special guest. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the guest we have here today is an impactful powerhouse queen, all the way from West Philadelphia, born and raised. I don't know if she's born and raised there, but I know she's coming from Philly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So our guest today is America's #1 small business expert. She is an internationally renowned keynote speaker on small business development, social selling, and marketing strategy. Come on. Y'all hear what's going on today? Y'all hear what's going on today? Let me tell y'all some more about this queen, the CEO of Quintessence Group. For her marketing consultant firm, serves Fortune 500 brands that target the small business market. Oh, we got a power. I told y'all we have a powerhouse in the building. We have a powerhouse in the building, ladies and gentlemen. She also has an online school, www.smallbizladyuniversity.com, that teaches people online marketing and how to start and grow successful small business. This queen publishes a blog, succeedasYourOwnBoss.com. Okay, her advice is widely read, reading more than 3 million entrepreneurs each week online. That's not 300, that's not 3,000, that's 3 million, ladies and gentlemen. She hosts a Small Biz Chat podcast. So from a fellow podcast to another fellow podcaster, how you doing? Okay, is a best-selling author. Oh, I didn't even tell you her name yet, ladies and gents. Okay, she is the author of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, a month by month guide to a business that works, and Fix Your Business, a 90-day plan to get back your life and reduce chaos in your business. Ladies, gentlemen, and without further ado, the inspirational, the unstoppable, the impeccable queen known as the Small Biz Lady. Ladies and gentlemen, Melinda Emerson. What's going on, queen? How you doing?
I am good. It's so good to be here with you guys today.
Man, thank you so much for doing it. See, you see that bio? I'm just like, come on now. Like, what haven't you not done, man? Come on now.
I've been doing this a long time.
A long time?
Yeah.
So tell us, besides your bio, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, I am a Pittsburgh native.
Oh, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but I actually have lived in Philadelphia for the last 25 years, so I claim Philly.
Oh, so you definitely from Philly at this point.
Oh, definitely. And we can even claim that West Philadelphia thing.
Yeah,
so.
That's what I'm talking, West Philadelphia. Boy. Let's go.
So I started out my career in broadcast television.
Okay.
And then, after 5 years in the business, I just didn't love it. Like, it was like my dream job.
Right.
And I got my dream job when I was in my early 20s, and I was like, I hate this.
Oh, man.
So that led me, so it led me down the path to becoming a business owner when I was 26 years old.
Okay, you better talk that talk, queen.
Yeah.
Come on now.
My first business, Quintessence Group, we started out actually as a video production company.
Oh, wow.
And eventually morphed into, doing web development and video production. And then in 2007, I literally read a trade journal that said social media was going to be the next big thing. And I made a strategic decision at that time for our company that we were going to become black belts in that. Because I knew that there was an opportunity in being a pioneer, being the first mover in something.
Right.
And so that's what we focused on. And how we did that was by building my SmallBizLady brand. So
Right.
it was like I had to learn some kind of way. So I had to invent an online brand that we could demonstrate, what we were learning in content, because at the end of the day, I'm a master content developer.
Gotcha.
And the platforms, every social media platform that comes out, it's just a new distribution channel, but it always comes back to the content.
Got you.
And so, it just kind of morphed, and along the way, as my business got bigger and bigger, back in 2006, I got pregnant with my son.
Okay.
I ended up on bed rest for 6 months.
Oh.
And literally almost lost my business that year.
Wow.
Because I had made the number one fatal mistake you make in business. I had built a business that couldn't run without me. I had 9-10 employees. My husband at the time had, left his full-time job and joined the business. We were the largest company of our type in Philadelphia.
Got you.
But then all of a sudden, number one rainmaker gets pulled out of the business. What do you have if you don't have sales?
Right.
But what I realized at that time when I was on bed rest at home, and by the way, this was pre-Wi-Fi.
This pre-Wi-Fi?
This was pre-Wi-Fi. So I need you guys to understand, I was at home with a Palm 3 cell phone trying to run my life, and you guys are too young to know anything.
Oh no, we know what's up. We remember when you had to be off that phone. Make sure you can use that internet.
Right. You remember dial-up? Okay,
we remember dial-up. We're that generation.
You guys remember dial-up?
Yeah, we remember dial-up.
Yeah, so it wasn't like you could just be at home and still be working.
No, it's true.
But what I realized when I had that time was that I would have run my business better if I had better advice. And so, but at the time in the marketplace, the only people even talking about financial information back then was like Susie Orman and Gene Chapman on the Today Show.
I remember that.
These were the only people talking about business finance at all. And they were talking about 401ks and stuff. And so I realized that there was an opportunity in the marketplace to become that voice for small business advice and information. And so while I was on bed rest, I had started making all these notes about all the expensive mistakes I had made. And man, the list was like, woo, it was long.
It was up there.
And then I started writing down the stories I knew about other business owners that were like my friends and colleagues or just people I knew. And eventually that Become Your Own Boss in 12 months, which was originally published 11 years ago.
It takes most businesses don't even make it to 10. So come talk that talk. Boy.
Yeah. So when the book first came out, it was originally supposed to come out in 2009.
Okay.
But you guys remember what happened in late 2008, right?
That's when the market crashed. And we were seniors in high school at that point.
Right. So let me tell you what it was like to be in business. So people's 401ks became 101ks. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was really bad. So my publisher called me up and said, "Listen, thank you so much for being a first-time author that actually turned your book in on time. But we don't think anybody's thinking about entrepreneurship right now with all these people losing their jobs. And so we're going to shelf your book until March of 2010." They shelved my book for 18 months.
18 months?
18 months.
So that was almost a pandemic before this pandemic.
Let me tell you something. I was like, holy macaroni, Batman, what are we going to do? And so literally, at the time, so the market had crashed. Business was bad. My husband at the time had gotten laid off from his job.
Man.
So it wasn't like I had $10,000 to like buy my book back from these people. Right. So I had to ride it out. And a friend of mine was like, yo, if I were you, I would start publicizing that book like it was coming out anyway.
Right.
And I was like, for real? And she was like, yeah. And so again, I knew that I wanted to push my company in that direction anyway for social media. And so she was like, I know what we're going to do. I said, well, what is we going to do? And she said, we're going to go out on Twitter and build your author platform. And I remember saying to her, well, what is Twitter?
What is Twitter? She said Twitter. That's how you know.
I was like, what is that? So she showed me like how to use Twitter. And then finally the day came for me to get my own Twitter account. So I go to twitter.com. I put in Melinda Emerson, and I get this message back. This name is already taken.
Oh, your own. How does your own name get taken?
What I found out, thanks to Facebook, is actually there are 7 other Melinda Emersons in the United States. I'm the only black one, however, and I own melindaemerson.com, so they all know
who
I am.
Okay. That's
because when you put Melinda Emerson in Google, like I'm the first 21 pages, right? So they know. But at that time, we had to come up with a nickname for me.
Okay.
Which is how I became SmallBizLady.
Okay.
Which we now know was like the best branding accident that could have ever happened to me.
That actually is nice. That's a blessing.
It was,
Come on
but
now.
it didn't
Give us
feel
another
that
round
way
of
at the
applause.
time. No, I was mad. I was hot. I was hot as fish grease. Like, what do you mean? Somebody else, some helper has gotten in Twitter and gotten my name. Like, what? I didn't want to be Melinda Emerson 1.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or Melinda _. I was like, I'm not doing that.
You wanted to be the.
I am the Melinda Emerson.
Oh, you better talk that talk. You better let them know who you are, ma'am.
But once I got on Twitter, once because Twitter was like 1 year old.
Yeah, it was.
Like
It was
so in
young. I remember that.
08, like Twitter was 1 year old. So I want you guys to get in your time machine with me and go back.
Oh no, we remember because our generation, because we're the generation where Twitter at that time we couldn't have Facebook. That was the time we were not allowed until we had our college ID.
Yeah.
To be able to be on Facebook.
And then only college kids can use Facebook.
That's how.
Because that was back when they didn't allow adults on Facebook.
They didn't.
So interesting. So literally got on Twitter and had to work Twitter like a job.
Man.
Like 3 times a day I did something. So I shared an article about small business because back then I didn't even have a blog like when I first got started. So I used to just share other people's content, Inc. Entrepreneur, small biz trends, whatever. Like I would just find a helpful article to share. And then I would share something personal about myself. So at the time I had like a 1.5 year old, so I would say something like, had to act like an ape to get JoJo to eat a banana this morning. Like something to get people to know me.
Right.
And then the third thing I did every day was I answered somebody's small business question every day.
Come on now.
Yeah. And I did that literally for 2 years.
For 2 years.
It was like 22 months of grinding on Twitter. And so what I want you guys to understand, that was like not making any money doing that.
Yeah, right.
Right. So within 6 months, I had a blog. And then within 3 more months after that, I started Small Biz Chat, which was one of the first big tweet chats on Twitter. And I did that for 10 years.
Gotcha.
And then 2 years ago, we switched it to a podcast from a tweet chat.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Because then now your latest book, you led all this to lead to.
Yeah.
Because of now that I'm here, because as I read your newest book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 months.
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of those experiences in this book. Because I haven't finished it yet, but I have started reading it. And first of all, kudos to you.
Well, the beautiful thing about that book is I've had the opportunity to update that book twice.
Oh, okay.
So this is actually the 3rd edition of Become Your Own Boss in 12 months, revised and expanded. But the great thing about it is, as I have learned and grown, the content in that book has grown.
Come on now.
It's even more valuable to people because now they got 22 years of experience in that book now. And so one of the things that was really cool about the update, Simon & Schuster reached out to me during the pandemic and they were like, hey, you want to update this book? And when I saw how many small businesses went down, like we saw, we lost 25% of the women business owners. We lost 40% of the African-American business owners in this country. And that sickened me. And so I realized what people needed was that digital pivot information. Like people didn't have their online game together. And so what we updated in the book was like all the marketing stuff, because marketing now is way more complicated than it used to be. There's a whole lot of stuff you got to know. It used to be like you had to have a website.
Yeah.
All your links needed to work.
You didn't have to worry about the algorithms. You didn't have to worry about all that, right?
Download quickly. You know what I mean? Like that's all you need to know. Now you got to understand SEO. You got to have a content strategy. You got to figure out which social platforms you're using to drive traffic. Then you got to have an email marketing program. Then you got to be able to buy ads. Buying ads is not optional now. Like you kind of have to.
You have to.
If you want to scale your online sales, you do have to buy ads. And I knew people didn't know how to do this stuff.
Right.
So what we did was we added all that stuff to the book
for the Dirt edition.
Yeah.
Because you actually go into, and this is actually one of my questions for you before we go into the segments, is what are you have the 6 P's of online selling.
Yeah.
So what are they? For folks who need to know that.
All right.
Because I was like, once I read that in the book, I said, oh, they need to know this. Go ahead and tell them real quick.
Well, the 6 P's of online selling start with problem. People do not buy products and services. They buy solutions.
Yes.
So what problem is it?
I was excited to read that.
What problem are you solving?
Yes.
Then you got to think about people.
Yes.
Who are you targeting with your solution?
Come on.
Because all small business owners have the same problem, limited time and limited resources.
That's true.
So you might as well pick a target that you can actually hit.
Yep.
Then you got to think about your pitch. What is your offer?
Come on now.
What is your call to action in your offer? And then let me hit you with one more thing. What is your value proposition in your offer?
Y'all hear the blessings that's coming. You hear that? That's that magic right before we get to the magic. Come on now.
And then after you get done with your pitch and figuring out your pitch, then you got to figure out your platform.
Yes, your platform.
What social media platforms are you going to use to build your brand?
Yep.
And build your leads, frankly. And here's the trick. I know there's some of y'all out here doing 6 or 7 social media sites.
Yeah, true.
You are doing yourself a disservice. You need to pick 1 or 2. And you need to grind on those 2. I built $1 million brand from Twitter.
Come on now.
Twitter. Did not go on any other social media platform. Now, we went out and claimed my brand on the other platform.
Right.
But in terms of
really
like
the drive,
where I put my time, where I showed up, it was Twitter.
Come on now.
Now I don't know that you would use Twitter today. You might use Instagram. You might use TikTok. You might use Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't know. But you have to understand where your fish are. When we go back to people,
right?
Where do your people hang out online? And then you got to look at your Google Analytics and see, well, which social media sites are actually even driving traffic?
Who's bringing people to your website?
Back to your website.
Where's the algorithm? Because those are the things I learned the hard way from my other businesses that didn't work.
Well, most people learn it the hard way. You be out here all on Instagram. Well, if Instagram ain't driving no traffic, and it's hard to drive from Instagram because you can't really drop links on Instagram.
Nope, you can't.
But you can, you can get a following on Instagram. I don't hate on IG, but I'm just saying, like, it's harder. I like things that are more quantifiable than that. So you need to pick out 1 or 2 social media platforms that you're going to focus on.
Can we give... She dropped too many gems. We didn't even get to the segments. Oh, come on now.
And then the 5th one is persistence.
The persistence.
It takes time. Like, you are just not going to, the moment you start sending tweets, it's not going to start raining money in your business.
No, it's not.
What did I tell you? I told you it took 22 months.
22 months and then the 18 months before that.
Right.
Come on now.
Right. So you got to understand. I had to be committed. It's like, are you committed enough to your business vision?
The process too.
That you will be willing to do it for 2 years and make no dough doing it.
Right.
Because that's what it takes.
Right.
And then the last one is pedestrians.
Whoa.
And pedestrians is about traffic.
Come on, man.
At the end of the day, you must know how to drive traffic to your website because your website is your number one sales tool.
Number one sales. Amen.
So if you don't understand anything, you need to figure out where is your traffic coming from and how are you going to drive traffic? Are you going to drive traffic organically with content? Or are you going to paid ads? Webinars, what are you doing to drive traffic back to your website? Because at the end of the day, that's the goal of all of it.
Come on now.
They're not going to see your offer if they don't ever come to your website.
Come on now.
You know?
Man, thank you. I'm excited for this episode, y'all. See, thank you so much for giving us that's just the introduction. I just wanted to see what's going on there. So are you ready for our first segment, ma'am?
Absolutely.
You ready? Because this first segment right here is recipe versus the outcome. So this segment, we discuss your journey, right? So we already briefly got into your journey, but how you planned the business, what challenges you faced, and how you were able to overcome it and what the outcome was, right? So for the first question for you, can you think of a time that you planned something and it didn't go accordingly, and how did you make it work?
Well, there's so many examples of that, right?
Right.
You plan things, you try to work with customers, and things don't work out. But one of the things that you will learn about business is everybody makes mistakes. It's about how you make good on the mistake.
Come on.
So the thing you want to do is always communicate. The last thing you want is your customer calling you and telling you there's a problem.
Right.
If you know there's a problem, you want to get in front of it. And I'm not saying send no text, no email. You need to pick up the phone
Yes.
and call somebody and say, hey, I know we promised you that delivery on Wednesday, but we had an issue. We're going to get it to you on Friday, and we're going to discount your bill by 10%. That's how you fix it. That's how you build a customer for life. And this is why this is important, because the most expensive sale you'll ever make is the first one. So your second biggest thing that you have to do in your business is keep your customers.
Right.
It's cheaper to keep a customer than it is to go out and get a new one.
Man, come on now. So what are some things you've experienced that could have worked out in theory, but did not go that way in practice?
Well, I mean, the best story you already heard was about what happened with my book. Like,
right.
you know, here I am thinking I'm about to go on
18
a world
months,
tour.
right?
You know, I'm about to become America's #1 small business expert. And then they were like, oh, yeah, about that, we're not going to release your book for 18 months. I mean, that was a nightmare.
Hold on, pause. Man. So, okay. So then, factoring off that, since the book was shelved for 18 months, did you see a return in investment?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
The best thing that ever happened to me actually was that book was shelved for 18 months.
Okay. So that was a blessing.
It was. I mean, again, it didn't feel like one at the time, right? So the thing you have to think about in business and in life is that every kick is a boost.
Right.
It's still a kick, though. It hurts when you first get, you know.
Right.
But you have to realize the lesson in what happened. So for me, if it had not been for the fact that my book got pushed,
right.
I never would have probably touched social media.
See, that's good.
I never would have became
Everything
the
happens
small
for a
biz
reason,
lady.
right? Biz lady.
And the book wouldn't have been as successful. I mean, you have to realize I have a nonfiction business book that's been in print over 11 years.
Right.
I need you to hear me when I say that.
I hear that.
So,
for sure.
like, this book has sold over 100,000 copies in multiple languages around the world.
Come on, man. See, look at that.
All right. This book that I wrote basically in the basement of my house, right? So, again, it created a life of its own. And it opened so many doors and so many opportunities for me. I mean, I can't tell you, like, I've had the opportunity to be a columnist for Entrepreneur. I worked for them for 2 years. And then the New York Times called and asked me, would I be a columnist for them?
The New York Times? Come on, man.
And what I will tell you is the editor from Entrepreneur told me that she read my blog for 1 year before she ever even called me and asked me to write for them.
She wanted to make sure. See,
yeah.
So
and
they're watching
you. The same thing with the folks from the New York Times. You better believe they went and read my book before they called me and asked me to write a social media column for the New York Times.
See, that's what happens when you put that little recipe, that magic. You hear that? That's what happens.
Well, it's about. I think if you ask me, like, what is the secret to my success, it would be relentless consistency.
See, you're going to have to hold the rest of that because that's going to be in the sauce. I got to wait for that. You got to wait for that. You got to put a pause on it. Put a pin in it. Put a pin. Remember it.
All right.
Okay, put a pin on that. Because you know what I got to do to you now?
What?
You nervous?
No.
You sure?
I'm very sure.
See, she I got to put you in the hot seat, though. I'm so sorry. I got to put you in the hot seat. So in this segment, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to provide some in-depth questions to learn more about you as a guest.
Sure.
All right. So these questions are going to be quick. So the first question is, who did you look up to growing up?
Oh, gosh. Probably my parents. Like, my dad was like my biggest hero. And he was a salesman for 30 years for Kraft Foods.
Okay.
And my dad was so good at selling, he could sell ice to an Eskimo.
He said ice to Eskimo.
Listen,
come on now.
My dad had a part-time job at Sears in the electronics department in the mall. And on Saturdays, we would go to the mall just to watch my dad close people. That's how good he was.
Come on,
like
man.
it was entertainment.
Shout out to your father.
I mean, he was amazing, and there were so many lessons that he taught me in that. Like I can remember one Christmas, my dad said there was a man that came into the Sears, and he was like kind of muddy, and like none of the other dudes wanted to wait on him. He looked like he had just left the work site from construction and came in. And this was back when like camcorders were just like a thing. Yeah. And back when they were like $2,000 a piece, right? When they first came out. And this man came up to my dad and, can you show me that machine? And my dad showed it to him. And none of the other, white sales guys were over in the corner laughing at my dad doing the demo for this guy. And he said to him, well, thank you so much for doing this demonstration for me. He said, I want to bring my wife back to see this. He said, what is the next day that you're working? And he said, well, I'll be here on Sunday. So on Sunday, the man had just left church, so he was all cleaned up and he had his wife with him, and all the salespeople were on him.
Oh, they tried it.
But he said, no, I'm waiting for John Emerson.
Come on now.
So as it turns out, the man waited for my dad to get there. My dad did the demonstration for him and his wife. Well, it turns out that man owned the construction company. And he bought 10.
Come on.
He bought 10 of them.
Come on.
My dad's commission was $2,000 on that sale. And it was Christmas time when it happened.
Come on, man. That's Christmas time.
So what I learned from that, and what my father came home and told us about that, he was like, you don't ever judge a book by its cover.
Come on.
And he said, and there's honor in all work.
Come on, man.
And you don't walk by cleaning people or, security people stuff and don't speak. Don't you ever do that.
Say what's up.
Because people treat those folks like they're invisible.
That's true.
He's like, and you never know. People say things in front of those people.
That's true.
But if you're kind, they'll tip you to what they said about you in the elevator when they thought that person wasn't paying attention.
See? Come on now.
So that's probably who my personal hero, but my sort of like mentor from afar is absolutely Oprah Winfrey.
Okay, so shout out to Oprah.
Oh yeah,
shout out to Oprah.
She was the first journalist that I ever saw start a business.
That's right.
Because she was a journalist. I mean, she was a journalist. An employee for ABC.
She read the news article at one time. I remember she did all that.
Yeah, and then she started Harpo Studios, negotiated her own syndication deal for the Oprah Winfrey Show, and
rocked it.
That first year, her syndication deal earned her $57 million. First year. And so what people don't realize is that I realize that people are inspired by Oprah for so many reasons.
Right.
But I have always tracked her business acumen, her business dealings, how she did things, the teams and people that she put around her. That is what I always tracked about her. And I literally have been tracking it since I was a sophomore in college.
Salute. So what's one habit that you do daily?
One habit that I do daily is I pray over my business every day.
Amen. What's your favorite tool that you use that helps you run your business?
Oh gosh, Gmail, Dropbox.
Yeah, email.
Gmail, Dropbox. I'm big fans of those tools.
Okay. So which business license would you recommend to a small business? Sole proprietor, LLC, C Corp, or S Corp?
I definitely would never, ever recommend a sole proprietorship.
Amen.
You have no legal protection as that.
Come on.
I personally, my business is an S Corp.
S Corp, okay.
But it does have some additional paperwork, but at least an LLC, at least. But I like S Corps because you can pay yourself with a payroll check. And later in life, when you want to buy houses and cars and things like that, paying yourself with a payroll check is a great way to prove your income. Gotcha. And as a small business owner, it's difficult to do that if you're just taking draws and stuff like that.
Right. Do you recommend to trademark and trade name every business you own?
It depends on the business. I think if you're developing products under a brand name, you definitely want to protect them. SmallBizLady is protected. The SmallBiz Chat hashtag is trademarked, so the Small Biz Chat podcast, like all of that stuff is trademarked because we sell under those names.
Got you.
But I think you've got to look and see whether or not it's an idea, a glorified hobby versus a legit business right, before you spend the time and money to trademark things, because it's expensive.
It is.
So you got to make sure that it's something that you really want to do, but you also, it's a good practice even before you get a URL to just go out to the trademark database and check and make sure somebody doesn't have that name, because you can incorporate in your state, but that doesn't protect you nationally from someone else having your name, having the website. So you definitely want to, protect your brand, but you don't want to do it prematurely. You want to make sure that you actually have a business before you do.
Right. So best part of working for yourself?
I work for the clients I want to work for, and I get paid when I want to get paid.
Worst part about working for yourself?
Waiting on getting paid.
Waiting on getting paid from the people.
Collections is the worst part of being in business.
Right.
Everyone thinks they can pay a small business owner late, last, and wrong. So you really have to make sure you stay on top of your payment processes, that you make sure that people can pay you electronically.
Right.
You want to make sure that you can accept all forms of currency in your business.
See, you made it through the hot seat. How'd you feel? Was that terrible?
It wasn't.
I promise it wasn't that bad. I like to give that shock value to make sure people like, what you about to get me into? I got to make sure people get it in, because now you ready for the next segment?
Absolutely.
Now this is where you talk about that sauce. Because you get lost in the sauce. So this is where we give more insight on your guests, where we ask, what's your special ingredient, right? Where in your business, like tell us that special sauce, because in your book you talk about your special sauce. I did peep that. So let Miss Emerson, Miss Melinda, please tell us what makes your business a business nobody can duplicate.
Well, I think it's, in my case, my business at its core is we're a content development firm. We're content strategy, but content development. And, writing has been my magical power since I was in 8th grade.
Come on.
So because I am a prolific writer, I've published over 5,000 articles about how to start and grow a successful business.
Come on.
So, if you're going to come for me, you better get up early. You better run around the block twice and eat your spinach. If you're going to come for me on a content game, because you probably can't. She
said your daily vitamins can't catch me.
No, because it's really about the discipline.
Yes.
And Malcolm Gladwell talks about in The Tipping Point, like you have to get 10,000 hours in your craft to get to mastery.
Okay.
And you really do have to do that. I write every day. Every day. Like I eat 1,500 words for breakfast. And so for me, that is my superpower. But what I also, the cool thing about all these things we have out here now, whether it's Reels or TikTok or whatever, I also break down my thoughts in 15-second increments,
Okay.
And so we're developing a whole brand new audience of people learning about me, learning about my content. And the other thing that's cool is that because of the new content that we added to the book about all of the tips for online selling, those are the courses that we developed through SmallBizLady University. So I have a course on how to sell and market online. I have a course on the ultimate guide to email marketing. I have a course on social media selling, right? So all of these things that people were just dying from in the last year, I got it. And I got it, and it's 6 weeks, and you can grind it out. And of course, if you want to become your own boss, we have a course for that as well.
She gave us that sauce, because you can easily get lost in it, okay? Because now, as we get ready to close, I want to thank you before we get ready to close. Thank you so much for being on this show, and thank you for taking the time to be here, because it's early. I know it's early, and you travel all the way from Philly for us, because now we're going into the happy hour, ladies and gentlemen. And before we get going, go ahead, scratch that DJ Icebreak. Got a gift for you.
Oh,
this is for you.
Thank you.
That's for you.
Beautiful branding.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Just thankful for you being on our show. And with the happy hour, this segment, this is where the host and guests, we take a toast to success for you. So we have apple cider for you here. And so what are we toasting to today?
Well, I would love to toast to more people getting access to the book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, and checking out what we have to offer at SmallBizLadyUniversity.com.
So toast to that. Toast to you. More business success for the Small Biz Lady. Toast to you, ma'am. We can go bow. Yes. So, Miss Small Business Lady, can you please give them all the instrument handles?
Oh, well, I'm SmallBizLady on every platform except for TikTok. I am the SmallBizLady on TikTok.
Okay.
And if you want to come over and check out what we have on our website, it is succeedasYourOwnBoss.com.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much again for being on our show. Hope to have you back here in the future. Welcome. Thank you for coming to Las Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our episode. That's for the Business Information Buffet Podcast, also known as the BIB Podcast, where everybody eats. I am your host, Sean Torrey, with our DJ Icebreak.
DJ Icebreak.
And we're out, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.